All right, so I'm gonna go share my screen now. Please, if you are not muted, mute yourself so that we don't get feedback or hear whatever might be going on in your house. Module 7 is delivering presentations. Remember last week we talked about planning presentations. Today we're going to be talking about delivering presentations. Delivering presentations is, presentations, period. You have the planning part, and that is important. But then you also have the delivery part. And that's important. And both of them involve communication. Planning a presentation involves thinking about what it is you want to communicate. And delivering a presentation is about the act of communicating the ideas that you have drafted and planned for. Okay. As I said in the very beginning, all of this is going to come back to credibility. And as you can see, this is one time in which I'm not erasing my marks on this PowerPoint because they are quite important. So when you are presenting, you want to establish credibility, okay? And we know that credibility involves competence, caring, and character. The next thing is you're trying to maintain authenticity, or what I would probably say as, transparency. You want to be true to yourself, but at the same time, you want to be vulnerable, accessible, to your audience. You have to know your material and rehearse it, because that, in all honesty, helps to establish or demonstrate your competence. You overcome fear to a certain degree. We may not overcome fear exactly. We might always get nervous. Even I get nervous, honestly, sometimes in certain settings. Teaching, I'm very comfortable with because I've been doing it. So even when I mess up, it's not that deep to me. I'm over it. But for presentations, I still get nervous. So you may not completely ever get rid of fear, which I think is good. It's a good thing because it keeps you humble. So you overcome fear and speak with confidence. You try to overcome fear as best you can. And the goal is to speak with confidence. Do say what you know. If you ever get nervous, speak what you know. We all know something. We all are confident about certain things, and you try to stick with that. You also want to focus on people. And on people, of course, we mean your audience. You want to talk to them. You want to make it seem like you're in the room with them and they are not just a backdrop for you to hear yourself speak. As you see, I have some little stray marks on there talking about the 30-second elevator speech. I've spoken about that before, so I won't waste any time talking about that. And I've mentioned Shark Tank before. These people, if you've ever watched the show, I'm sure you could go and YouTube it for a minute and just kind of get a sense of how they speak and how they talk. And those people, when they get up to talk to the investors, they've rehearsed. Now, it doesn't always look like it, but they've thought about what they're going to say and how they're going to say it. And they're being asked questions that a lot of times they can't prepare for, but because they know their material, they can answer those questions. And the ones that are able to do it well, oftentimes are the ones you see. Also too, the investor, the shark, is like, all right, I'm all in. The other thing is you need to stay flexible, have a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C. Plan A is your ideal. That's if everything goes right, this is the ideal situation, and this is how I'm going to plan. Plan B might be a shortened version. They might say you have 30 minutes and somebody might go over. A situation may occur and they say, well, actually, we need you to do your presentation not in 30 minutes, but in about 15 to 20 minutes. So you need to have an idea of what you would cut, right? Not, oh my God, they want me to cut my presentation. I don't know. And then you're a hot mess, right? So you have a plan B, have a shortened version. Or they could come to you and say, you know what, we just lost somebody. Could you, instead of 30 minutes, could you do 50? Right? So, plan A, plan B, plan C. A shortened version of your presentation and a longer version of your presentation. You also want to use the room to your advantage. Walking around the room is great, especially when you can. Currently, right now, we're all in, online space, but as the world begins to open up, perhaps there will be occasions for people to do presentations in person, although be clear, online presentations are not going anywhere and you will still be doing those. And at some point in your career, in your life, you will be doing, an online presentation, probably just as much as you would be doing an in-person one. When you're in person, you use the room to your advantage, moving around, looking at people. When I first started teaching in junior high and high school, I remember being taught that good teachers don't sit down. When you go to hear a presentation, who's sitting and who's standing? Oftentimes it's the presenter, right? The presenter is the one that's standing. The audience, a lot of times they're seated, they're comfortable, they're at a table, they're in seats, but the presenter is up and there's a reason why, right? So you want to move around. It helps people to stay, you help people to stay focused. It helps you. And then you want to communicate non-verbally. Now you communicate whether you realize it or not non-verbally, but you want to be intentional about your non-verbal communication. So for example, you might point to your slide, you might extend your hand in some way, shape, or form to indicate something, or perhaps, select a volunteer. You want to be intentional about the nonverbal communication that you engage in when presenting. The other thing, which seems very straightforward, but we are going to talk about that, I think, a little bit more in depth, is that you want to dress for success, right? I remember, I think this class, we had a long conversation about that. I'm not sure if it was Angelo or somebody else was talking about, or was it Eric or somebody that was talking about, dressing and how that really opened the door for them, right? So you want to be appealing because it's a way of communicating. People make decisions about who they think you are based on how you are dressed. So you want to dress in a way that's going to help people pay attention. A lot of times your presentations might be internal, right? So that is within your company or a department. And it gives them an opportunity to see you outside of the role that they normally see you in. It can help them expand their view of you. And it also enhances your credibility with them. In doing so, you want to make sure that you don't appear self-serving, right? And of course, like I said before, it's a way to increase your credibility with other people in your company or department or team, right? And when people have, when you increase your credibility within your company or department or team, that opens the door to increased opportunity. well, Jalen did a really great job on this presentation. So let's give him an opportunity to run the next product, the next marketing campaign that we have, right? Because he did a great job. Or Fatu did a great job on the customer service challenges that we're facing, and she seems to really understand that. Let's let her lead any new customer service innovations, the next customer service innovation project that we have. Okay, so presentations are a way to increase your credibility, and then also it opens the door to more opportunity.
Professor, I have
Yes.
a question.
Sure.
So it's a little bit late for this topic, but do you think gesticulation is an essential part of the presentation?
Do you think, say that one more time for me?
Do you think gesticulation is an essential part of the presentation, or it's something optional?
You said gesticulation.
Yeah.
You mean clear speech?
No, like gestures.
Oh, gestures. Okay.
Yeah,
I was misunderstanding what you were saying. I apologize.
Yeah.
Gestures. Yes. So yes. I mean, so part of that has to do with culture, right? The cultural context that you are in. And so gestures, specifically what you want is not just any gesture. What you want are illustrations, or illustrators rather. That's a particular type of nonverbal aspect of communication, but you want illustrators, and the reason why is because illustrators help to clarify speech. Gestures, generally speaking, it's a type of gesture, but you want the stuff that's going to help make your presentation clear. So it's not random, it's intentional. So yes, gestures are important. More specifically, the gestures that I would say are those that illustrate or help to illustrate what it is that you are saying. And that is that they would provide clarity or reinforcement for what it is that you are saying or have said. That is beneficial. So the gestures should not be random, but they should be very much intentional and very much helping with your presentation and what it is that you're saying at that moment. Does that help? Okay.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the other part is that, did I just turn? Yes. Okay, good. So the other thing is that you will sometimes do external presentations, right? And these are presentations that are outside of your company, your department, or people that you see on a regular basis. And so these people don't see you every day. They don't know you. And the only way, and they may have heard about you, right? I get that a lot. I am a co-author on a book. I've done some presentations, and, I'm always surprised, I guess, and I shouldn't be, but always surprised when people say, oh yeah, I've heard about you. So people talk, right, normally, and they will share their impression, whatever that might be. And so when you do a presentation outside of your company, these people may have heard of you, they may not, but you really have a shot at making not just a good impression, but, again, really establishing your credibility outside of your company, right? Outside of your department, outside of the people that you see every day. And remember, please mute yourself. Remember, a good presentation leads to opportunities. Mm-hmm. Okay. So when you do external presentations for prospective customers, for clients, for other organizations and companies, it is an opportunity to establish or hone your credibility outside of the people and places that know you well or know you better. And when you do that, again, you increase your opportunity. Also, by establishing your competence, which is an aspect of your credibility, you show that you know your content well, right? You show that you know your content well, and that helps, of course, boost your credibility. People like to say maintain authenticity or be authentic. I just having this conversation with some other students, and I said what I like to use is this word, and we've seen it in our class, in the book, in the readings, in the PowerPoints. Transparency. I like transparency better. And the reason why I like transparency better is because when something is transparent, it is clear, right? Motives, all things are clear. When you look through a window, unless the window is dirty, right? Then we say somebody's shady. Then, you know, you can see the other side. And so one of your primary goals as you develop your presentation skills is to balance, you know, present who you are, right? If you are somebody who is funny, you want to utilize the humor to help you make a good presentation, not take the central role of the presentation or the whole focal point, but you can utilize your humor to do that. If you're somebody who's a little bit more sarcastic or perhaps what might even be called dry, you have to figure out how do you balance between being who you are, but at the same time, presenting in a way that is engaging for your audience, okay? You know, sometimes in movies, we've seen a scene that plays all too familiar when somebody says, should I just be myself, right? Or a dating situation, and like, should I just be myself? And the person says, no, don't be that person. So knowing yourself, having self-awareness becomes really important here, because if you know who you are, you know what you do well and the areas that you need to work on. And then also perhaps you can strike a balance between being you, but at the same time communicating to your audience in a way that's effective and that's engaging.
But a sense of humor always helps, I guess, in order to kind of help your audience be always engaged in the process.
Well, yes, humor is definitely it's beneficial if you know how to use it. Sometimes people can be funny, but at the end of the presentation, if all they did was crack jokes and they never got really to the content, then the people after they've done laughing and they reflect, they'll go, "Oh yeah, he was really funny or she was really funny," but they didn't really say much. So you have to, it's about knowing how to use whatever everybody's not funny, right? Everybody's not, is not, you know, a comedian. And so you don't have to be a comedian, but you do have to be you, and you have to figure out how to be you, whoever that is, whether it's funny or not. But at the same time, communicate effectively and also be engaging. So the engaging is more or less about making sure that you hold their attention. So the humor is about helping to hold their attention, not necessarily take the central role or replace the content. Again, we can't stress enough to know your material and to rehearse, okay? Running through your presentation several times will be helpful. It'll let you know, it'll help you to be more comfortable, more relaxed. You know, you work out any areas that are weak, right? Things that don't have enough support, or at least be able to identify them and talk about them on the fly. You want to think about parts of your presentation where you might want to be a little bit more emphatic, or how you want to approach in terms of emphasizing certain things or perhaps de-emphasizing certain things, and also how your nonverbal communication will aid you in communicating those ideas. You want to rehearse your presentation out loud. I'm sorry, it says rehearse your out loud. Rehearse your presentation out loud. Okay. I'm saying rehearse it out loud because you can rehearse it in your head, but the only person that's hearing it is you. And how you sound in your head is not necessarily how you sound to other people. So that's part of the reason why I say to rehearse your presentation out loud. I also say record your presentation. I teach speech somewhere else periodically, and you know, it's important that you record your presentation, record yourself, or and listen to it. You can do audio visual, you can just do audio and listen to yourself, excuse me, because that will help you kind of zero in of, ooh, do I sound the way I want to sound, or am I communicating what I intended, or I didn't realize I sounded like this. This doesn't quite get at the idea or the intention that I had. And you can sometimes it becomes very challenging to get to that unless you have recorded yourself. And as I'm saying this to you, this is something that I do. When I have a presentation, I am not only planning it, but I do try to rehearse it out loud. I will periodically record myself, at the very least, audio or portions of it, and listen to myself to make sure that I am communicating what it is that I believe I'm communicating in my head. But at least I get to hear myself and go, gee, if I don't like how I sound, if I don't like how I sound on a particular point, I'm giving myself an opportunity to change it. Review your presentation. Again, listen to it. So even after you've presented, if you have the ability to have a copy of it, listen to it, watch it. It's informative. It helps you so that the next time you improve, the next time you can improve and make your presentations better. Is it painful to watch yourself, listen to yourself? Yes, it is. I'm not even gonna lie, it is. Now, there's some people who just think so highly of themselves and they think everything they do is great. That's fine. But for the rest of us, myself included, it's painful sometimes to watch yourself. It's like, oh my God, right? But you have to try, you have to start somewhere. Watch a little bit. Am I gonna say it gets better? Nope. But it does help you to become a better communicator. You can see things like your facial expressions, your affect, and you can begin to improve and think about those and be more intentional about it. Please mute yourself because I can hear whatever it is you got going on in the background. So if I stop sharing my screen, I'm gonna have to shout you out. And I'll be able to do that because I'll be able to see whose mic is open. So thank you. Top fears of American adults. As we can see, public speaking rate ranks second to snakes. Okay. Snakes, public speaking, and heights are the top 3 things that American adults are afraid of. Okay. When you speak, when you are speaking publicly, when you are in front of people, especially physically in front of people, you know, some people say it's vulnerable. It's a vulnerable place. You are being read. People are reading you. They're looking at your clothes. They're looking at everything. So just like you read other people and you make decisions about how you understand them, how you perceive them, people are doing the same with you or with us as we stand and do any type of public speaking. And so that is why many adults, particularly here in the US, are fearful of public speaking. Decreasing your fear, right, and increasing your ability to speak with confidence you know, can happen. So that you're always going to feel nerves. And I think I said this before a couple of slides ago. You're always going to have nerves to some degree. And I think that that's completely fine. I think that that's actually a good thing. It keeps you humble. Nervousness, though, as it is stated here in the second sentence, is dysfunctional only when it impairs your ability to deliver your content. That's key. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and highlight this. This is really key. There's nothing wrong with nervousness. It's okay to be nervous. It's normal. Okay. You're not abnormal because you're nervous. But if you have such nervousness and anxiety where it impairs your ability to communicate, to deliver your content, then that is when it becomes dysfunctional. And there are for some people who have this or who experience this. I'm going to tell you what they told me in my PhD program at Howard. Talk about what you know. Your safest bet is to always talk about what you know. And it is okay to say, I don't know. You will win more credibility points in saying, you know what? I don't know. I'm not as well versed in that than if you are going to sit up and try to fake it. Because eventually people are going to be like, you don't know what you're talking about. And even if they don't say it out loud, they're going to be like, they just need to be quiet. Right?
Yeah, but I got a question.
Go ahead.
But sometimes faking it till you make it is actually a good way of showing that, you know, you can adjust to any type of situation, right?
Right. So, but the thing is that if you're babbling and you're not making any sense, then fake it till you make it don't work. Fake it till you make it works when you can pull together what it is you know and still talk about it coherently. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm all for fake it till you make it. I agree with you. It's 100%, but recognize when you really just don't know. So I'll give you an example. One of the classes I teach is at a seminary. I allow my students to read in languages other than English. So of course I have Spanish speakers. I have some Asian students occasionally. I even had German student as well. Now, I am good with languages in the sense that I can recognize certain ones that I hear when they're speaking. I've lived in the Dominican Republic. I've used the Bible Reina Valera version, but my student, she had a different one. And so I still tried to follow along, but I was lost. And you know what I did? I was like, okay, the Reina Valera version is an older version. It's more closer to the King James version. I'm saying all that to say is that I did not have any experience with the translation she had. And I didn't have it right with me. So I really couldn't comment the way I would have liked to. And you know what? I said it. I said, you know what? I'm stumped on this one. I said, but next week, I'm going to have the version that you have so that I can give you more feedback.
Right.
So again, I'm all for fake it till you make it, but there will be some moments that fake it till you make it it won't work. You'll just have to be like, you know, I don't know. And then be careful with your next statement, which could be, I'll look into it. Right. But if you say that, then people are going to hold you to it. So you can just say, you know what? I don't know about that. And if you have a colleague or somebody, but so-and-so might know, or they may have some idea. Sometimes it's so much better to just deal with that moment because it's not always as awkward as you might think. It might feel awkward to you, but to them, it's just kind of like, oh, okay, well, you don't know. All right, no problem. There's some things you still might be able to pull together. And that's where you quote unquote fake it till you make it. But recognize when this is a moment to say, you know what? I don't know. I ain't got a clue. You understand what I'm saying?
I mean, in a way, yeah, of course. I agree. But, you know, we have Google out here nowadays, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, but I mean, that's not what you do when you go into a presentation.
Nah, I get
Like,
it.
hold on a second, let me Google it. I mean,
No, I agree. Definitely agree.
it's just recognizing the moment when you can't answer the question and you don't have time to Google. You just have to say, I don't know that one. I'm not as familiar with that, but maybe we can talk about that after. You know what I mean? There's a way to deflect that doesn't mess up your credibility. That's the goal too. You know what I mean? So all I'm saying is right. So all I'm saying is that you can fake it till you make it as long as it doesn't mess up your credibility. But you could also say, I don't know. And that also will not mess up your credibility either. And you could also say, you know what? I don't know about that one, but let's talk about that a little after the presentation. Is that okay? Right. And that still doesn't mess up your credibility. And that you can still Google it, right? And you can still come up with your answer. But the goal is not to screw up your credibility in the process.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. Yes, ma'am.
I think that saying I don't know actually increase the credibility, because then I know when you say you really know about that subject or topic.
Yes, absolutely. So, that's exactly what we're saying. That's exactly what I'm saying.
It's completely increasing credibility. And fake it to make it. That's what I think that should be in everybody's mind, but in professional word, if I know that you are saying that as a fake, but it happened to be true, or you made it, still you're gonna lose credibility, because then I know that you have this habit to do this, to fake things, to make it.
Well, I mean, so the reality of it is, I get what you're saying, but businesses do it too. They all do it. Everybody does fake it till they make it. And it's a short way of saying, until we can do better, this is what we got. And I think that there's a way in which we have to make allowance for both. But the goal still remains is there's nothing wrong with faking something till you make it, unless it's going to mess up your credibility. That's the objective, right? The objective is not which philosophy is better or is more important. The philosophy is don't screw up my credibility in, Dr. Harris, don't mess up your credibility. So if faking it till I make it works, it doesn't matter the philosophy necessarily. But if saying I don't know doesn't mess up my credibility, then you know what? I can say I don't know too. You do want to maintain authenticity. So for example, to your point, there's sometimes businesses as they're starting out, they don't have certain capabilities, right? And so they have to make do with the capabilities that they have, right? So for example, technology or social media platforms, businesses all had to transition into those things. They didn't readily start out with that. So they had to quote unquote fake it till they make it. They may have had a website, right? But it wasn't interactive. They may have had Instagram, but they didn't necessarily post a lot because they didn't have a posting schedule, or they didn't have a person who could run their social media. So that's what they mean by faking it till they make it. It's not so much as that they're lying or being dishonest. It means that they're really just trying to make do until they can actually do something better. But the goal in all of that, regardless of the philosophy that you use, is to not mess up your credibility. And I just want people to know that saying I don't know is still good and will not necessarily mess up your credibility, and that's okay. So some people,
if I found out that you lied about having that website, that's not gonna good for your credibility, no matter what, if you later make it or not make it. So if that you lied,
Elon Musk, for example, Elon Musk, we haven't been to the moon yet. You know what I'm saying? So he's faking it right now, apparently. You feel me? So, and there's a lot of other examples as well out there.
Yeah, so I think Samira is understanding it a little bit too literally. It's not that people are lying about it. an expression that means to you know, yeah, it's not lying. That's not necessarily what that expression fake it till you make it means. It does mean though that just, yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but it's not about lying about having a website. That's not what, so let me try a different way. We'll stick with the website example. I have a business, you have a business. You might have more money than me. So you have the ability to hire a web designer, somebody to manage your social media. And perhaps you have a 2-person or 3-person team, or perhaps you have the money just to pay for services where somebody else does all of that stuff for you. I'm business B, and I might be in the same business that you are, but I don't necessarily have the money to do all of those things. So I might put up a website, but my website is not necessarily interactive, or I don't have a lot of information. I might have an Instagram account, but I might not necessarily be posting as regularly as you. And so you might more than likely have more revenue, more demand, because you have a presence online. Well, I may have to find some other ways, because I don't have the ability to have my website be more interactive, because it costs more. So I might go pass out flyers. I might go do some other things. And so when they say fake it till you make it, they're really just saying, I have to make do with the situation that I'm in until I can make it better, or do better. It doesn't necessarily mean being false or lying or not telling the truth. It's just the way that they say it, fake it till you make it, which can mean that. But I do understand how you're understanding it. But that's not it's not literally like they're lying. That's not what the saying means. I hope that helps. It's a colloquialism, and maybe I'll try to get some information to show that so that you can see sort of the range in meaning that phrase, that saying has. Okay. Oh, wow. It's 12:10. Jesus. Okay. All right. So let me get into, so here's some ways to overcome, and let's take out this overcome. I don't like that. Manage fear, and speak with confidence. Engage in relaxation techniques. And there are a number of them. Some people, I don't know if you all know about those stress balls that people hold in their hand, and it helps them to channel some of that energy. Become aware of your breathing by taking deep breaths, closing your eyes, and sitting quietly for 10 or 15 minutes prior to your presentation. Visualization, visualizing something that makes you happy, that relaxes you, that you might be anticipating after your presentation. Focus on friendly faces initially to gain composure and confidence. You will have some people who are going to simply, in very vernacular terms, their face, a mug, they're just very no affect. But you can change those faces, but focus on the friendly ones first, right? Some people will just be, very kind to the speaker. They'll pay attention and they'll look. And those are the people that you want to focus your energy on. The people who are straight, like looking at you in a way that's not nice, or that doesn't, seem open, don't look at those people, because those people sometimes do that on purpose, to see how you're going to react. This is a huge one. You want to watch your food and beverage intake. Of course, you don't want to be drinking any alcohol if you engage in drinking alcohol, but you want to watch, you know, how much food you eat prior to. You don't want to have a big meal before your presentation because you're going to be sluggish. You're not going to have the energy. A lot of times, even before class, I don't eat big meals. I eat small meals on purpose because I have to have the energy to be able to engage. And if I eat a big meal, then all the oxygen that's in my brain for me to think and for me to act is going to be in my stomach, helping to digest food. Okay. The other thing is you don't want to overdrink on water. Water is great to drink, but you don't want to have to go to the bathroom in the middle of your presentation. So you want to be mindful of your food and beverage intake. Also, get comfortable, right, with the audience members before starting your presentation. And in order to do that, that means you have to be what? On time. And on time means what? Before time. That means you get there before time, not at the time your presentation is supposed to begin. Okay? Even online, right? I do presentations online. They usually want you there at least a half an hour to 20 minutes before the start of the presentation. Why? Because before time is on time. On time is late. You heard me? On time is late. Before time is on time. Huh?
On time is late. What?
On time is late.
Yes.
Yep,
You
it's
have to
late.
be before. You have to be 15 minutes before the place because you don't know what's gonna happen through the way. You know, you gotta be prepared. You gotta be ready before it.
All right, let me
That's
ask
right.
you. So, what if you got people that's preparing it for you, and you already know the audience, and you're already ready?
Then
You
that's
know?
them. That's them. That's them. You know, you. It's about you. That's them.
Them?
Yeah. So is that Kelvin asking this question?
Yeah, that's me.
So Kelvin,
Talk to me.
I like the fact that you are looking forward to the day in which you have people who are ripping and running for you. Okay, I love it. And I hope that happens right before. But until then, good discipline. Right, good discipline for yourself. Good healthy habits so that you can maintain the huge bank account that you envision yourself having, or perhaps you already have. This is just good discipline. On time means it's late. If you want to make sure that you are not running up in there, you know, when you get to a status where you got everybody, you know, running around, setting it all up for you, and all you got to do is walk into place, wonderful, great. But until then, good discipline, good ethics, a way to keep yourself sane and not stressing, just generally speaking, is always be there a few minutes early, because then you can actually stand up and be at peace, because you didn't have to rip and run and do 5,000 things, and you're there early. You're not worried. You can greet people. You can say, hi, how you doing? And talk to them and mix around the room. But when the presentation is supposed to start, if you just walking in the door trying to get acclimated, the presentation is going to start late.
Got it.